Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. My name's Justin. We've been doing this podcast for 7 years on a website that's been around for 21 years. And today is one of the most exciting days I think we're ever going to have. We have the very first set pics from Amazon's $1 billion Lord of the Rings. You can't see these anywhere else because Amazon keeps copywriting, blocking all the other videos about it. So we got the video, we've got the photos, we're going to dive in. We've got special guests. We got two special guests. One, Cliff Broadway is the co-host of Torn Tuesday, and he is the scholar of all of us, and he can tell us what we think we're looking at because it's not what anyone expects. And then in a few minutes, we're going to bring in the co-founder of TheOneRing.net, Zoanon, who used to manage all of our leaks and the legal ramifications of the leaks. And he used to be on the front line as co-owner of TheOneRing, dealing with the studios and their takedown notices. So we're going to get into that in a bit. Cliff, it is Viggo's birthday. We should say that up front. Happy birthday, Viggo Mortensen.
I would love to sing the Beatles version of, the birthday, happy birthday to you, but we're not going to get taken down for that. Maybe there's other things, but not doing the Beatles number. Hello, and happy birthday, Viggo, and to the entire world of Lord of the Rings fans who are out there to the weekly show. It is Torn Tuesday, and today we're probably going to be talking about bears and spiders and elves and barrels and men, and eventually we might talk about a dragon eventually. But Clifford, and it's good to have everyone here. And the excitement in the air is what we would call it's kind of like reliving a 20-year-old energy. It's kind of nostalgic, even though it's brand new at the same time, because here we are doing Ring.net does reports from seeing things over the fence. These great videos and things are leaking out on the internet, and you can't stop the floodgates now. So here we are. Welcome to the show, everybody.
We are extremely choppy, and one of the reasons that we're choppy is Cliff is a book nerd, so he doesn't put any money toward good internet. He spends all his money on books. So I can't fault that, but yeah, Cliff, hold up that book of Tolkien because your internet is in the toilet.
No. Wow.
Yeah, see?
Okay.
We're getting every 10th word.
Well,
if you've
thank you, Spectrum. Thank you.
If you've been part of the show for 7 or 8 years, however long, you've seen us go from platform to platform. Stickam was amazing because we could see your faces. But we are testing something new today. We are showing this broadcast is streaming in 4K. 4K. And why we did that is because Lord of the Rings is coming out in 4K Blu-ray this Christmas. And so we wanted to test 4K. So I've got decent internet. Cliff is going to refresh his browser, and hopefully we can get him back. But if you want to see 4K, YouTube is the only platform to stream in 4K. So I'm watching the YouTube chat. Cliff is in the chat over there. Slowbeam is your nickname today, Cliff Broadway. Slowbeam. And so he's ducked out. He's going to refresh. I'm going to bring in the co-founder of TheOneRing.net and the front line of all of our studio shenanigans, Michael Regina Zoanon, as we used to call him, and I think still do. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everybody. Nice to see everybody. Yeah, this is awesome. Yes, what a momentous day it is today. Reminds me of back in the days when I was still living at my parents' house. Snooping out photos from New Zealand.
It looks like you got shelves of toys. You still at your parents' house?
No. This is my computer room, aka my nerd room, and this is the Lord of the Rings wall. I have some King Kong stuff, but yeah, definitely this room is full of nerdy goodness. If you can see my desk over there with the Hellboy and Sherlock Holmes and all kinds of fun stuff in there. But yeah, definitely living on my own now.
So before we show the photos. So we got exclusive look at the Lord of the Rings set. Set the stage. So tell us a little bit about the history of the One Ring leaking photos and how did they get taken down and everything like that. Because I remember that we got our hands on a photo of a wizard on a spiked wheel, and the internet freaked out because it was the first look at any wizard, and we weren't sure if it was Gandalf, Saruman, or another wizard. Mm-hmm. And it was from the set. They didn't want us to see it. What happened when we got that photo?
So in that one in particular was a bit tricky because if you recall, you won't see that in the film, in the finished film. You will see Saruman on a spiky wheel in some of those background photos that we got, behind the scenes photos that we got. But typically what happened was we would get photos from locals. They're filming everywhere and anywhere in New Zealand, and we would get photos from all types of people who either were interested in Lord of the Rings or not. They were just kind of involved in this because it was such a mammoth production all around New Zealand. And we really wouldn't hesitate too much back in the day and just would post things and say, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, right? Or it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. I don't know which one. And in the early days, we, nobody had a direct line to me or to anybody else. And so we were just sort of given carte blanche, right? And I think it was Erica, one of the four founders, right, Tahanu, who she was in New Zealand, and she's the one that got the cease and desist from New Line or whoever it was, and because she was a local, and so we scanned that and we put that on the internet too, and said, look what we just got, So it was it was a bit crazy at the time, and that's of course when New Line and the production in New Zealand, had that sort of amazing idea of saying, okay, stop, we're not going to fight the fans like the Star Trek franchise was doing at the time, and a lot of other companies were doing at the time. We're not going to fight the fans and fight the internet. We're going to invite them in, and that's sort of where this whole thing really took off at that point, because they were sort of saying, okay, we'll show you. It's better to show you what we want to show you rather than you guys, trying to find anything on your own. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. Legal stuff aside, of course.
Now, a lot of the scoops during the Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, and Hobbit days came from regular people walking along public lands, but had long telephoto lenses. So they would go on the hillside across and point, and that's how we got our first glimpse at Helm's Deep. And we people emailed us all the time, correctly? Mm-hmm. And if not email, IRC.
Yeah, so IRC back in the day, ICQ actually back in the day, for those who might remember ICQ, was great because you can actually find people from very specific locations. And of course, a lot of it was incoming. We would, of course, ask people, hey, if you have a scoop, send us something, anything like that. But we never hired a helicopter, like we didn't have the money. We never told people to go dumpster diving. We never did any of that stuff. But, a lot of times when if they got picked up by security or somebody, said something, they would say, hey, I'm doing this for the One Ring. And so it would come back to us eventually, and people would say, stop asking for pictures. And I'd say, hey, these people are taking photos. What am I supposed to do? Not put them up?
Now, what would happen when you put up photos? Like, did we ever take down a photo under legal threat?
Oh yeah, for sure. We so like I said, at the beginning when they didn't have our numbers, it was easy. But it's a two-way street, right? So the moment they say, hey, let's do stuff together, and we say, great, now we have this line of communication, and so that's great when they're giving us the scoop that Liv Tyler is going to play Arwen. But it's bad when they can call me at any time of the day and say, "What are you doing? Take that photo down now." And when you're called on it, it's kind of scary, right? So you're like, "Hey, and I know exactly who would be on the other end of the line, and he'd say, "Hi, Michael," and I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm in trouble." And then he's like, "You have to do this. You have to take that down. Oh my God, like I'm protecting you from being in trouble. You gotta please, 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 So it's a little bit scary at times, yeah.
I think we got Cliff back. Cliff, I believe Ian McKellen was our secret source on some leaked photos, was he not?
Yes, 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 he was. Yes, he was. Because he got in trouble for nothing because he was Ian McKellen. He did like to pass to his webmaster, and there was the earliest scandal was him showing his costume by taking a photograph of his silhouette on the asphalt. You were really looking at that on the park lot groaned. That was enough to be a hackle at the time, but the silhouette was so crisp and clear, you could distinctly see the is of his costume and his tall, pointy hat. So it was wild then at the time.
Yeah.
How was my sound quality? Any better? Am I sounding?
You're sounding
worse?
a little better. I think try just hitting the eyeball icon, turning off your video, see if that gives us a thing. So, Michael, let me ask you this: was there ever a point where we published a photo from the set of Lord of the Rings, and they said, "Take it down"? And by the way, never talk about this again. Never talk about this photo. Was there any situation, and did we stick to that, or is there a little bit of journalistic integrity involved? What's going on?
No, I don't recall ever saying, unfortunately, no, we're not going to take this down, because really we were, we didn't want to get sued. We were a non-profit in many ways, right? Just giving our money to World Wildlife Fund and not really wanting to be sued. And wanted to stay in their good graces, to be honest. I mean, we weren't true journalists in that sense, right? We wanted the access and we wanted to stay in their good graces. And so we usually did what they had asked, maybe not as fast as they asked us to. That would probably, if it was like Sunday night, maybe I'd wait till Monday morning or something like that, knowing, news cycles and all that kind of stuff, especially on the internet. So no, we didn't do any of that. And to be honest, they actually never really asked us, like, where did you get this? Who was it? What's the name of the person? And nothing like that. And I think that would probably be the line I would draw, where I'd say, I'm not telling you. We always use spy master names. Do you remember that? We'd always and I'd make up these names. They wouldn't even make these up. If somebody, with their name, like, Todd Phillips at hotmail.com, apologies to anyone named Todd Phillips, who sent me a photo, I would make up their spy master name, because I'm clearly not going to say, "Oh, Todd Phillips sent us this," right? So a lot of the spy master names were just off the top of my head. But I think I probably would have said, definitely not telling you who this is. I will take the photo down, but that's the journalistic line I would not cross.
So a few months ago, we did an epic Lord of the Rings reunion. You can find the archive video on our Facebook and YouTube channel. But we got the executive team from New Line Cinema and the executive producers of Lord of the Rings and Weta Workshop on the show here to talk about this. And I believe Gordon Pattison, who was head of global marketing at New Line Cinema. I mean, the fact that he would come on our little fan podcast in an unofficial capacity, it sounded like he had a pretty good working relationship with you on behalf of TheOneRing and New Line, and you guys found a way to work together when we got scooped.
And see you still.
Yeah, definitely. So Gordon was definitely one of those people that would make those phone calls, but would also be a great partner to us and would tell me things that I couldn't really mention on the website, but he would visit New Zealand and tell me about his trip, stuff like that. But yeah, he definitely was a great partner. And he had that hard, he had that line, that fine line he had to tread, right? Of being friends with us and working with us, but also having to be the heavy when it needed to be.
Everyone in the chat's like, we can hear you, Cliff. Cliff, you're there. Cliff is having bandwidth issues, and we're testing our 4K setup. So if we can hear Cliff, say hello. I'm not hearing anything. Anyways, he'll be back. So let me ask you this. We just had the spy, the leaker of the photos, jump into our chat room right now, Michael. Mm-hmm. He says it's one of the scariest things that's ever happened. He or she should say that.
He or she, yes.
Gender neutral. We don't know. They say that it was a scary moment because Amazon has put a copyright strike on his YouTube channel.
Wow.
Which I don't think is appropriate. And copyright strikes affect your monetization ability on YouTube. By the way, it's not their property because this was all taken from a public land. And secondly, he says Amazon told him or her that they cannot talk about or mention the photos ever again.
Wow. That's crazy. That's pretty heavy-handed. So back in, like I like to say back in my day, but when we were doing this early on, like obviously there was no YouTube, there was no monetization aspect of YouTube. So it was very, very different. Now, what I would love to see from Amazon is, again, that sort of partnership feel where they feel that they want to engage with the fans. Now, are we seeing that in with other major properties like Mandalorian, or did we see it with Game of Thrones? I'm not a big Game of Thrones guy, so I don't know if that actually happened. And I'm not too much into the fan stuff of Star Wars to know if there's like a big Mandalorian sort of fan presence. I'm sure there is. But I wonder if these massive TV productions that are pretty much equal now to movie productions, if not bigger, are taking that to heart these days, or have they gone full circle back to where it used to be, in the late 90s?
Yeah. So if you're in the YouTube stream, again, we're trying to stream in 4K for the first time. Fellowship of Fans is the YouTube account that broke the story. Fellowship of Fans. Give them a follow. Give them a subscribe on YouTube because they might post stuff that might get deleted later. So you'll want to have your notifications on for their YouTube channel because who knows? They might have extra stuff and you might need to see it before it gets deleted. Was there ever a time at TheOneRing back in the Peter Jackson days where like people kind of were like, I saw it before it got deleted?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we had tons of times where it's like, okay, we have to take down these photos, and then people would be on the message boards talking about it, or they would pop up here and there in other places. And of course, there was tons of other fan sites or movie sites in general that would also have it up. So I'm sure Gordon and his team had a full Rolodex of people he'd had to call to say, please take those OneRing photos down. Please take, all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure it was not fun. I'm sure we caused more headaches than we wanted to. But them's the breaks, I guess, when you have a massive fan community like Lord of the Rings does.
Now, when you say you say that we had a great relationship with New Line Cinema, and you think Amazon would be wise into engaging with fans, how do you reconcile that with this attitude that fans just expect to be treated better? Like there's fans just are demanding access or whatever. I don't think that's what you're saying.
No, definitely not. I don't think we fans are demanding in that sort of sense, like, we can do anything we want, and fans should and the studio's copyright owners should just acquiesce to this. But I mean, if there's a porthole, if there's a way to reach a massive number of your fans, why would you want to alienate them, right? So that's almost like going to a convention and then just telling them, hey, we're not showing you anything until you have to pay for it, pay for an exclusive ticket or something special, right? So it's sort of like, why would you want to alienate them? They're actually there waiting to be pleased with your content, right? So why would you alienate them?
Right. It's not about demanding access, and it's not about demand. It's not, we don't expect anything. But we just want to tell you, because we've been doing this for 21 years, Amazon, if you're watching, that this is just the first of many years of this. And sending out copyright strikes to the very first one is not going to deter the leaks. I promise you, nothing will scare the leaks away.
Yeah, exactly. And if they are gonna spend their time and energy in doing that, they may as well just set up a team to spend the time and energy working with these fan sites, including us, obviously, Fellowship of the Fans, any of these people, and engaging with them. You know what I mean? So, Amazon, if you guys are looking for anyone to head that up, I think we have a good team here at TheOneRing that could definitely do some good.
And look, we're not the only game in town. There's fans of all walks of life. Just our own stats show that fans come from all walks of life, of all ages. We've got 90-year-olds that come to our Oscar parties, and we've got 8-year-olds that come to our Bilbo Baggins picnic when there's not COVID. But we don't. It's not a bunch of gray hairs, right? I don't know how old Fellowship of Fans are, but they're not 50 years old and big gray beards. Fans will continue to leak stuff, fans will continue to share stuff. And also Lord of the Rings is the biggest production in the world right now. They've cannibalized the entire production pipeline of New Zealand. In fact, there's not enough workers to make other movies and TV shows in Auckland because they're all on Lord of the Rings. So you better believe there's going to be leaks, and this thing is huge. And I just got a thing from Cliff. He's trying. So I think our engineers are on it. They're going to keep working with Cliff. But maybe we should just get into it, Michael.
Let's go. I mean, I wish we had Cliff's brain here, but definitely, let's go. Let's take a look.
So do we have that first video or photo from the set of Lord of the Rings? Let's see. There it is. All right. Looks like we've got a giant set. Oh my God, this is huge. This looks like it's 4 stories tall. Go to that gray picture, that giant gray building.
Yeah,
now,
that is massive.
Helm's Deep was, of course, built in a quarry, but I think that maxed out at 2 stories tall because they played with the size of the wall, right? They didn't build a 50-foot wall, right? The leaked set pics we got of Helm's Deep, was maybe a 15-foot wall. This looks giant.
Yeah, definitely. And in the other photo, when you can see the front, I do see either that very popular green screen or actual greenery in there. I couldn't tell which one is which.
Do we have to zoom? Can we zoom enhance? Do we have another photo that is closer?
It's hard to tell what's there.
Let's see if we got another photo. All right. So that is definitely a big building.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and then what else do we have? Do we have another photo that kind of zooms in? Oh, yeah. Okay. What do we got going on? Now, those are giant shipping containers. On the right-hand side, that is the ceiling of that 4-story building. How big is a shipping container? It's 8 feet tall? 10 feet tall? I think some of them are 12 feet tall. That is at least 4 containers high.
That's pretty massive. And then from this photo here, I'm seeing, I guess this is a very ice-themed set that they're looking at here.
What, man, Cliff, please call into the show. Get your audio working. Zoom enhance. What else do we have? Do we have another photo that... Oh, yeah, there you go. I don't know. That looks like an icy cliff. A mountaintop, even.
Yeah, definitely.
That is giant. That is a giant mountain ice cliff. And if we thought this show was going to be in Numenor, Numenor was not mountainous and icy.
No, absolutely not. So this is curious to know where. I'd love to know what Cliff's thoughts are on this and where this could possibly be.
Oh man, Cliff, where are you? We need some backup. Wait, was there an icy mountaintop scene in any of the unfinished tales?
So
What?
I'm reading the comments. Yeah, I'm reading the comments. So at Fellowship of the Fans himself, or herself, actually said that is most likely the Redhorn Gate. Which is pretty interesting. So
What's the Redhorn Gate? I don't know what we're talking about. What is the Redhorn Gate?
This one, I'm not too sure. There was a mountain peak on Numenor, as I recall, right? Oh, could be
Laura in the
Redhorn.
chat room says this is supposed to be after Beleriand sank. That would put the timeline of the show later than we expect.
Hello,
Cliff, are you
can
there?
everybody hear me? Yes, I
Hey,
hear
Cliff.
you, and I.
Yeah, tell us what we're looking at.
What are you looking at? Oh,
Do you see-
that? that is a wampa. Clearly,
Yeah.
We're going to Hoth?
Yeah.
that is a wampa.
Is it missing an arm?
It depends. It might. Yeah, it might be. How do I sound? I've been struggling to get back into the show with the camera disabled.
You
Yeah, no,
sound
it's much
perfect. This is great. And we are joined by another person. Let's see if we can get him on camera. So hold that thought. Cliff, what do you think we're looking at, really? I mean, are we looking at, what was it, the Noldor Gate?
You mean the flight of the Noldor across the northern reaches of the continent?
The chat room is saying the Redhorn Gate.
The Redhorn Gate. It might very well be the Redhorn Gate.
What is that?
If it is, it is one of two things, and I guarantee you that you've got a 50-50 chance of getting this right or wrong. Either they're looking at the Misty Mountains, way, way up, somewhere in the frozen reaches of the Misty Mountains, or they are showing something in a flashback, which is the Helcarax, and the Helcaraxe, as some people pronounce it, and that might be a flashback story about how the elves, the Noldor, migrated all the way from Valinor to Middle-earth, and we don't know yet, but it's one of those two things.
That's amazing. That's why we need your brain, Cliff, because mine is severely lacking.
No, this is common conversation on Twitter. I've been monitoring the conversation. It's very close to the storytelling that there's a dangerous passage over the mountains, and it was a hindrance to the Fellowship of the Ring. Going over the Misty Mountains was also difficult for a lot of other people and characters in the Second Age. There's even a famous story about Elrond's wife, Gilraen. No, I'm sorry, not Gilraen. That was a bit of confusion on my part. But Elrond's wife did get attacked by orcs trying to cross over the dangerous snowy passes of the mountains. So either we're looking at the Misty Mountains, or we're looking at a flashback where they're talking about some very specific cold, frozen areas of northern Middle Earth. And what else would be of interest except maybe a flashback to show how people got from one place to another, migrating peoples across the continent?
Yeah, we are joined by
Yes,
another
I do.
voice.
And I hear
Hey,
you. Hi, Chris.
How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you too. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you about your diet routine, man, because you're looking amazing. Oh, good. That's what I got to do. But back to these sets. Oh yeah, yes. 500 million is ours. Yes, I got a quarter of that. But back to the. Already mentioned nonprofit, so we're good. We're covered. Not for profit. There you go. The do you think they would make something that huge for a flashback scene? That's what I'm thinking too. Like, this is a pretty massive set. Like, and would it be used for something as, and I don't want to say, not important, but yeah, insignificant, but I mean something like a flashback scene, which tends to be, pretty quick and pretty short-lived.
So what we've heard that they've hired ILM Mandalorian team to use that same LED wall technology, stage technology, but with this being the biggest show in existence and it's Lord of the Rings, I imagine that's just one of many units filming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you're going to see Stagecraft, I think that's what they're calling it now, used on Mandalorian. I think they mentioned they're also going to do it on, or they did it on Discovery as well, Star Trek Discovery. So, yeah, definitely going to be applied here. But I still love the fact that they're doing real physical sets and trying to make this as real as possible, right? Let's stay away from as much green screen as we can.
Chris's audio is really low, so we're working on bringing his audio level up. Laura in the chat says, "So far, I'm so happy not to see a green screen."
Right, CG has its place and can be used really, really, to good effect if it's done right. Right. So I think we've all seen instances where it's been done poorly or overused, and we've seen instances where they do it so in such a detailed way that it's unnoticeable. So I think if they are using it to as minimal effect as possible, but where it's needed, then I'm all good for that. And with this $1 billion production, I'm sure they definitely have the budget to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all we had. It's all we had. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The payoff comes when you see it on your screen and you say, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Half of that was foam and it was 4 foot tall, but I still remember that. That was cool. And you can bother your friends and family when you're watching the movie and tell them all about it.
Yes.
Cliff, you
exactly. I'll have to forgive.
I was going to say, Cliff,
ahead,
you ended up
ahead,
sneaking on set for Peter Jackson's Return of the King. So you have an idea of like what was worth building and what was worth not spending that much effort. This is a lot of money being spent on a 4-story set. Do you think this is more than a flashback?
Yes, I've been inclined to, correct some of my guesswork, and I have to also clarify my earlier confusion. I was talking about Gilraen, and that is Aragorn's mom, when I was actually thinking of Celebrian, who is, the daughter of Galadriel and the wife of Elrond. So forgive my brain for having a bit of a refuse moment. I had to refuse the circuits for a second. But, the reason why you would build a set that large is because you're probably going to use it over and over again in a modular way, like we saw in some of the behind the scenes of the Hobbit trilogy, where they could take separate walls of rock, separations of root, tree, and formations that are within the bedrock, walls, dwarven walls, columns, and they can rearrange a set. It might be something that is modular that we don't understand. Maybe it can be broken down and moved around in bits and parts. But yeah, it could definitely be used over and over again, not just for a flashback scene. But if something is that frozen, and I'm sure everybody can hear the cat in the background now. Hey, Pumpkin, how you doing, cat?
She wants to pipe in. She wants to chime in with something.
This looks like a much bigger set than was built for the Path of Caradhras, which is such a pivotal moment in Lord of the Rings. But the actual set of the Snowy Mountain was literally 10 feet long, and with Legolas having his own platform to walk above everybody. Like, this is bigger than the Path of Caradhras.
It is a place where maybe they had, and Tolkien describes that there's at the pinnacle, at the summit of the mountain, there was more than one edifice and structure, very large structures. They're built there. A temple, I believe, that was over the course of the story. Yes, so there might be a large edifice or a structure at the top of Menotarma, and if I'm not wrong, I believe earlier in the story, such places were dedicated towards honoring the Valar, and I think that some of them may have gotten so bad at the end of it. Maybe the temple is used for Morgoth and has been corrupted by Sauron's influence. But that's a specific end point of the Númenórean story, where you're talking only about Ar-Pharazôn, the last king of Númenor, who was the guy who brought Sauron to the island as a prisoner. So it might be something at the very top of the mountain of Menotarma, where they're having temple sacrifices. Who knows? I guess that's the fun. The fun part of speculating is trying to figure out what it could possibly be.
Keith in the chat room says Tar Aldarian is probably the most extensive Númenórean story, and he traveled often to Middle-earth. Could be a location he visits. I have another theory, and while we get to that, if we've got, I think we have a video. Let's see if we can get that video queued up. I would love to play a video that we actually have from the set of Amazon's Lord of the Rings. I mean, this just feels like 1999 all over again, where we've got the first pics, and Amazon does not want you to see this. There we go. All right, we're playing a video. He is zooming in as much as possible. Look at that. All right, he's trying to get details. That is definitely a snowy mountaintop. It's a full cliff face. They must be climbing up a 4-story cliff face. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 containers tall. I mean, this is This is huge. So here's the other thought. I want to get your concept, Cliff, Michael, Chris. The rumors are that they are exploring a lot of dwarven stories, and we may see the building of Moria, the great halls of Dwerodwelf, the creation of the great halls. Am I correct in saying that those are under the mountain of the Pass of Caradhras? And so this might be the top of the mountain above Moria?
Maybe it might be. I'm reading to you from page 174 of Unfinished Tales.
Of course you are.
It says, of course I am. It says, near to the center of Menotarma stood the tall mountain called Menotarma, pillar of the heavens, sacred to the worship of Eru Iluvatar. And that's it. That is where that temple was located. So if it's a huge, tall structure, it might actually be the temple of Iluvatar at the top of the centermost mountain point in Numenor on Menotarma. And that is my new guess. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go to Vegas with those odds. That is my official guess.
So your official guess is Menotarma. And
yes,
where?
That's my official guess. We'll see. We will see in the future, maybe in 2022, whenever it comes out. We'll see whether I was guessing right or not.
Chris, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah, people
go to
couldn't
settings,
hear Chris at all.
Sound, can you boost your mic?
No, I like when we can't hear Chris.
Official guess, Michael.
It's always helpful. So
okay. However, Leonardo Fahar, Leonardo Faber in the YouTube chat says that there was not even an altar at the top of Menotarma, and Melkor's temple was not built there. Well, that's intriguing. Well, I'm looking at the words of Tolkien himself in Unfinished Tales, and it might be that this version of the text is something that Amazon did not license. We should always talk about licensing in our discussions here, because maybe they don't have the license to this part of Unfinished Tales, and they're licensing something else from the back pages of the Akalabeth in the Silmarillion, and maybe the writer's room is going in a different thing, with a different direction in what they're doing. But in Unfinished Tales, literally, it says that the Menotarma, the mountain itself, just the mountain itself, was sacred to the worship of Iluvatar. But I'll have to find some other passages in the text and look for more details. But thank you for our friends in the live chat for correcting our historical account as we look up the lore of this.
Oh, there you go.
I can hear you now, Chris.
No, that's funny. Hey, I did find that. Oh yeah, the Father Christmas letters. That would be great, wouldn't it? I'm reading further down the page, and all of the people who are calling us out in the live chat are correct. Listen to the words of Tolkien right here. The summit was somewhat flattened and depressed, and it could contain a great multitude, but it remained untouched by hands throughout the history of Numenor. No building, no raised altar, not even a pile of undressed stones ever stood there, and no other likeness, and no other likeness of a temple did the Numenorians possess in all the days of their grace until the coming of Sauron. So, there no tool or weapon had ever been born, and there none might speak any word, save the king only. So they're correct. There was no temple on the top of Menotarma. I take it back. I totally am taking my guess back. And I'm gonna rewrite history then, and maybe
What's your
maybe it's I'm gonna rewrite history. It is if it's not Menotarma, maybe it's the snowy peaks on the side of the mountain. Maybe it is the central mountain of Numenor, but they did not ever build any temple there. That's for sure. So I stand corrected.
There's no temple here. From what we're seeing,
There's no temple.
There's no temple here.
Okay, there is no temple.
But it's a high wall. Yeah, I think based on what I'm seeing, I think they're building an ice climbing, and at some point the actors will be, or stunt people will be climbing that ice wall, because look, it's a sheer cliff face, and you don't build the cliff face if you don't see it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right.
And we don't get a sense of depth here, but it looks fairly flat to me. So maybe they'll be filming from the front, from the side, these types of things. And maybe it'll be used multiple times for multiple different things.
Yeah, again, Michael, I think you pointed out right. Like, this is a lot of money to be spent just for a flashback, a small scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, this could be something extremely vital, or we don't know. But I tend to think they'd only be building these kind of things if it was going to be used. Even with all the money they do have, they're going to try and save and reuse sets as much as possible, right?
Wasn't the rumor they already wasted $300 million?
No, I didn't hear that. How did they waste $300 million?
And everything they had to throw out from the up until this point, since the signing of the deal, they wasted a ton of money until they actually started getting going.
Oh.
And now, I don't know. Can you hear me, Justin?
Yeah. No, you're good. Perfect.
But I tend to agree with you. Like, it'd be really crazy to spend a ton of money on a 4-story set for a flashback sequence, but it is Amazon, and when you have nobody telling you what to do because you own the world, and you have billions and billions and billions of dollars.
He's the richest person in the history of the world, in charge of the richest company in the history of the world.
Look at the richest. Yeah, think of the richest people in the history of the world. What
do
they do?
Hey. So we're joined in the middle box. You can see Chris Parada Calasuri is joining ZOANRing and myself and Cliff by phone. These are two of the co-founders of TheOneRing.net. So this is legacy right now. This is battle-hardened knowledge. Now, let me ask you this, guys. Obviously, Amazon already copy-struck the Fellowship of Fans on YouTube, which everyone should go subscribe to right now and turn on notifications, because you want to know whatever he leaks is going to get taken down in the future. Let me ask you this, guys. When we got leaks during the filming of Peter Jackson's movies, we obviously took some stuff down, but did you ever really feel that the scared and frightened that the big bad company was gonna put us out of business?
We're ready to lose.
Yeah. But let me parse this first, because Chris never got the phone calls. I got the phone calls.
yes, you did. Good old
and that
GP giving you calls all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And that was on me for saying, yeah, you can call me anytime, right? So know that there was never like, we are going to shut you down. You guys are done, pulling your servers out of the wall, whatever it is. Nothing like that. And no ever mention of like litigation or anything like that beyond the first cease and desist way back in the day. But it was still scary at times when, you get a call and it's like, Michael, I got a call from Peter Jackson and now I'm calling you saying, what the hell are you doing? Kind of thing, in like not so subtle language that I was just using. So that could be a little bit scary at times, but never felt like guys were going to be out of business, because Chris is right. We didn't really have anything to lose. except for
Yeah,
our,
Well, you think about
24-hour hobby.
Hold on. Think about the world of the internet then, right? So there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't Google, to the extent that Google owns everything and now has a antitrust lawsuit from the government going on today. There was no other entity that owned everything surrounding us, right? We were the OneRing. We had our server, we had our website. There was nothing else, and we had our advertising as, whatever. But today, people on YouTube, they use WordPress, they use Facebook to run their groups. People forget that those are companies and entities that sit in front of and help them get to the public now.
Mhm.
Right? That the attention is given only because the gods at Facebook and Google allow that attention to be given. So it's a very different situation. We didn't have anything to lose because oh no, what are they going to do? There wasn't real teeth to something.
We had. I mean, if we posted a video, it was on our own servers.
Right.
We weren't. We were FTPing files, photos to our own servers. So there was no third-party intermediary, like Chris said, because they just didn't exist. So yeah, there was a lot of wild west freedom back then. And now all that convenience of a YouTube, of all these other things, makes it really easy for websites to be built and created, but they all have legal teams that Amazon can just pick up the phone, and Amazon wouldn't even need to ask us to stop something. They would just have YouTube do it, and then it's done, right? So yeah, it is different.
And Julie James from Red Carpet Tours jumps in the chat and says, Erica. And Erica was definitely one of our biggest sources. She's the other co-founder, one of the other co-founders of TheOneRing.net. And so a lot of the scoops we owned. Like, people didn't just secretly send us. Like, some Erica went out and got mud in her shoes and got the photos.
Mike, do you remember the time we got that's true about Erica, but do you remember the time we got the Helm's Deep footage?
Yeah, we got more than just footage. We got somebody who went up there where they were building the sets, and they were still half foam sets.
Yeah.
And I guess they were bringing the sets and building them on location, and this guy just had a free run of the place. Chris, I don't recall footage exactly, but I'll finish my story. And he was just right in the middle of it, like a construction site, just taking photos, right? And so we posted it up, and then I remember them being very angry about it, because of course it doesn't really look that good, right? People start to think, oh, is everything going to be made of foam? Like, what is this, Star Trek 1967 Star Trek? And so they were quite angry about that. But I think a majority of people were more just really interested, like I was as a huge filmmaking buff, just interested in the process, understanding that it's going to look good after after they do all their work to it. But sorry, Chris, you were saying we got footage.
We had a line, if I remember correctly. We had a line internally that was like, video footage was really a no. Like, there was a line there. We weren't going to post video footage, and because of, I think, being threatened. Because we had that video. I don't think it was a video.
I think it was like a stuntman of Aragorn going over the wall or something. Yeah. Now I remember. Yes. Yeah, and so
wait, so did we publish that, or did we hold it, or did we publish it and then take it down?
I don't remember.
I think I don't remember. Knowing us, Mike, we published it and then took it down.
Yeah. Well, knowing you, probably telling me to do it, we probably did it. But yeah, now Chris is jogging my memory. Yeah, we didn't get much video per se, because obviously the internet was very different back then, and it was really heavy to send stuff. But we definitely didn't want to shoot like over the shoulder of the cameraman and like steal footage from the actual set. But I think that was the only time we got something.
Yeah, that was footage that we actually had of filming. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Keith in the chat room says you guys should totally post an article reminiscing about the big picture leaks And wouldn't it be fun to see if those photos are still around? They're still around. The whole archive is up.
Yeah, we have tons of that stuff. Some of the stuff
Yeah,
we
there
signed ended up on the DVD extras. Not stuff that was ours, but like the same photos that we saw.
Or the spiky wheel. Remember the
spiky wheel? Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Yeah, all that kind of stuff for sure.
So,
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Because I have something to add in. When we were talking just a moment ago, and by the way, for the audience who cannot see me, this is Clifford. Hello, Clifford over here. There was a moment when the production company, Wingnut Films and New Line Cinema, realized that there were set photos being leaked. And because the spy photos were getting out, the response to that was the production invited Erica Chihanu to come and visit the set. Okay? And you'll remember that was their answer. Their answer to the issue when they realized that the spy photos were leaking, their answer was to reach out and start a relationship. That was how they handled it then.
Yeah.
Okay, just remember that. Thank you, everybody.
So Amazon's already taken a heavy hand. Fellowship of Fans posted the photos, did some analysis on it, and had some suggestions of what it could be. And then Amazon copy
they had some excellent ideas.
But Amazon copy striking that channel goes on the permanent record of that channel. And if you get 3 copy strikes, your channel gets deleted permanently.
We're all under the thumb of the larger entities these days. That's the reality of it. I'm telling you, the internet of today sucks.
That's why Chris and I don't do it anymore, because it's not fun anymore.
Wow,
So let me ask you this. The TheOneRing is still not for profit. It's self-hosted on our own beat up 486 in the corner. We've got the photos. We've got the video. They don't want you to see, but we own our platform. Is there anything we can do with these photos? Like, should we have a record and put it in the record of the TheOneRing and post it on the site?
That's a young man's game.
I told you that yesterday, Justin. I'm not doing this anymore, so I'm not making the shots.
As co-owners of the website, you don't want us posting the article with the photos?
You know what? The reality is the Amazon monster. And it truly is a monster. First of all, I like my Prime membership. I don't want that going away. Second of all, we live in a society that has the entities like this that have a lawyer on retainer that makes $100,000 a month just to come after small little fan sites. So, doing like whatever the boys show thing or whatever this, and they don't, it's not the same anymore. We were early fandom. Now everybody's fandom, like literally everybody's fandom. And they're just writing checks and cease, copyright, cease. There's no back and forth. And it's clear, I think, with the Amazon production, it's not that they need to reach out to the TheOneRing. I want to be clear about that. But they need to. There's been no attempts to bring in fandom, right? As a whole. Like it doesn't need to be an ownership of the TheOneRing. We've never been like that. It's just there is no attempts of the community, and that is a clear signal to me that when this stuff comes out, I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
I'm not putting at risk the 20. Holy crap! 21 year history of the TheOneRing and the things we're doing. Like we still do positive things when it's a non-COVID world. We get to do events and all these things. We have a license with, Middle Earth Enterprises for some apparel and some stuff, and we get to do things without advertising, without all this stuff. It's not a risk. It's getting out there, right? We're talking about it now. We're looking at it right now, right? We don't need to. Back then, we needed to. There wasn't other sources. There wasn't somewhere to put on Twitter and have it 8,000 places at once. So us jumping in on it, not really worth it.
Yeah, and Chris, we touched on this just before you popped in. Like the Amazon production team, Warner, not Warner's, but the whole team there at Amazon do not owe us a thing, right? They don't owe us a reach out. They don't owe us a set visit. They don't owe us any of that stuff, because that's not what we're about. We were about the excitement and getting the news out and all that kind of stuff. But nobody owes us anything. So. You know what I mean? So we don't really want to.
It would be, as a marketer, as now having done, just basically graduated into marketing and doing it for good professionally for maybe 10 plus years, it would be smart. It would be smart to hook up with the community, because the community is passionate and full of people, has a great demographic. Like, there's all these pieces in this community that can make this successful. Just filter a few things, a few focus groups, whatever.
So what do you say? Let's say I'm at Amazon. It's like, it's just those fans. The expectation of fans expect to be treated different. How would you respond to that it's just like Star Wars fans. They just expect to be treated differently.
No, I think
I would say look at what happened. There's a person in the chat room who mentioned that 20 minutes ago and said, look at the way that they handled the Ursula K. Le Guin Earthsea fandom, and how badly they reacted, because I love me some Ursula K. Le Guin fans, and the way the sci-fi handled Earthsea really was a good example of how to alienate the fan base. But go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, but that's exactly right. The reality is Tolkien stands on its own without Amazon, right? Without this doesn't need to happen. Yeah. This fandom and Tolkien fandom exists. There does not need to be a show. And if you don't have the base,
very true.
If you don't have the base enthusiastically promoting what you're going to put out, that is supposedly Tolkien, you're not going to end up having a successful show over time. You might have all the money to throw at it for 2 seasons just because you want to save face, but people aren't going to watch it. People aren't going to engage in it. You're not going to have people trumpeting the wonders of this show if it isn't within the spirit of Tolkien. I mean, look at the film. The film's a good example. The film, in my opinion, did reach out to the community, right? And did embrace and put out the director to anybody who wanted to talk to him, and encircled a lot of the fandom in there. And that movie made, I know it didn't do great, it made more money than it would have by doing that. And that's what I'm talking about. You had passionate fans talking about it, convincing other fans to go and participate in it. They didn't do a great job on the marketing side of it, of the studio, because I think the studio felt like it wasn't going to be a huge hit, right? We talked about that at some point, Justin. But the reality is, if you engage a passionate fan base so many years old, it is going to propagate and support the growing of the fan base until it's a big phenomenon, right? You want a Game of Thrones, start with a great foundation.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we're at right now. They don't get it. I don't want to call out people and say they're just not paying attention, but
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And Chris, I posed the question maybe before you came in, like, do you know about Game of Thrones, like the fan base? Like, there was an existing fan base already. Obviously, the TV show made it huge. Do you know if they engaged with that fan base and sort of connected?
I remember one of our old staff members tried to convince us to make a Game of Thrones fandom. Remember that? Damn it, I missed that today. But no, I don't think it wasn't the same. I don't think they had the reach out. I think they got a new audience.
Yeah.
Well, in recent years, we've been privileged enough. Jimmy Wales is the founder of Wikipedia, and he tweeted a little while ago that TheOneRing is one of the best, charming little corners of the internet, and it should not go away. So, I mean, that's a huge.
That's
a huge compliment. And Cory Doctorow, who's on the board of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who's at the forefront of copyright, digital millennium issues, and usage issues. He's been on our show. He's been generous with his time privately, talking about because he runs Boing Boing, who came out the same year that TheOneRing started, and they've dealt with all the same issues that we have. In fact, they were sued by Playboy. They've been sued by it and lost millions of dollars. And Corey, last time I talked to him at the last convention, I think it was a year ago, he said he's going to stop basically posting anything that's not completely harmless on his own website. And sure enough, if you go to his Twitter feed, Cory Doctorow, like all of his normal blogging is now tweet threads because the platform, that's where the platform is. And he can't risk the livelihood of the 20 years of archives of of his website, Boing Boing, at the risk of posting news about the CEO of this company or Amazon or whatever, and then getting threatened with a libel lawsuit and whatever. He's like, I don't want to fight any legal battles. So I'm just going to post everything on Twitter. And if it takes off, it's cool. But there's no monetization efforts. And but that's the thing with TheOneRing, right? Like, people want to say clickbait. And honestly, I've written a bunch of clickbait headlines over the last few years on Twitter and Facebook, but there's no there's no profit here. Like, we don't have any ads on the site. That's not what we're about. It's not about clickbait. It's about discussion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And that's what's so funny is the redesign.
Exactly.
Notice that there's no ads. There's no ad space. There's literally no ad space. We had ad space for our whole history. It is gone. Completely gone. We don't have any ad space on there at all.
That's right.
Truly just focusing on fandom, content and entertainment and community. So yeah, and we don't want to risk that. I mean, we're older and wiser.
We're older, at least, Chris.
People in the chat room are responding to some of your Game of Thrones. HBO did not engage with fans. Let's be clear, says Simone. And Cameron says, I think the thing that the producers are not realizing is that Game of Thrones was so successful because it was so devoted to the material it was adapting.
Right. Yeah, because it wasn't the stuff it was putting into the show that was shocking and entertaining and all those things that was in there already. That was part of it. It's not the same with Tolkien. So,
and Cliff, isn't this the basis of your fidelity to Tolkien?
Exactly. I appreciate Cameron's observation, but Benioff and Weiss went a little bit off the rails in season 7 and 8.
Everyone knows it too.
Still, yes, everyone knows it, and maybe that is one of the biggest things that we learned, or maybe that's one of the biggest things those showrunners must have learned, how the fandom reacted negatively when they changed the core of the sensibilities of what was going on in the world of Westeros and beyond. And all of a sudden, season 8 was so off the rails that was like, well, okay. even the actors involved in Game of Thrones were caught on film, rubbing their eyes and tossing their foreheads into their hands at the table reading. You saw it yourself. I do believe that the fidelity to Tolkien concept is pretty basic. Look at the Black Cauldron. There was a very weird attempt at Disney Studios to do an adaptation of a 5-book fantasy series, The Chronicles of Prydain, which is based on Welsh and Lloyd Alexander's fascination with Welsh folklore and legends. And Professor Tolkien himself was deeply inspired by Welsh and was all in love with the languages of the Midlands, the English countryside. We all know that. But the Black Cauldron became the biggest, most notable disaster in animation studio history of Disney animation because of how they handled the story and how Disney as a brand, Disney as a huge family brand, was trying to dip their toe into the Ralph Bakshi hard fantasy waters.
Don Bluth.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
The fact that you bring up Black Quadrant shows how old you are. More recent examples would be Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender just does not exist in the fandom. It just doesn't. The movie that M. Night Shyamalan did just does not exist. And secondly, the Golden Compass was so bad that they had to reboot the whole thing as a TV series.
With a different title and a different brand called His Dark Materials. Yes, I get that. But hold on. It was just a couple of years ago that Disney Studios licensed the Chronicles of Prydain all over again. So don't be surprised that the studio tries to dip their foot in the waters of high fantasy again, because they're going to readapt those book series and they're going to try it again because now they know how not to do it. But yeah, there's a whole lot of risk that Amazon is taking in getting into such an expensive license, but not working with the fandom or letting the fandom have
letting the discussion
a place
happen
in the conversation.
Yeah,
there's a place in the conversation for everybody. Yes.
I wonder, and I know, Chris, you wanted to say something, but I wonder if they were ill prepared for it to happen this early. Were they not gauging? Do they not know their history? A, and B, were they just simply, because I know from past history how studios work. It's all about controlled releases. They have this down to the minute of what they want you to see and when, and maybe this was a knee-jerk reaction based on not being ready at the time and being caught with their pants down, so to speak.
You want the priority and first class on one back?
Yeah. I would say there's so many examples, and you're right, Justin, about all the different examples available to us of adaptations from book to film, book to TV, that just don't do justice. Let's look at an Amazon series that did do justice. So The Boys, from all expectation of the Boys comic series, the adaptation is in line with the actual physical comic book, right? So one of the reasons, people who never read the comic books are like, "Whoa, this show's amazing," but they get the added benefit of the chunk of fandom of The Boys that read it say, "Yeah, this show's amazing because it's just like the material that is amazing, and it's way deeper than that, and there's more detail here, and there's more detail here," right? That's an equivalent to what this is, right? There are going to be fans of this show, right? It's gonna have a new eyeballs going in. The reality, though, is you're not going to have that fan base that exists there that says, "Yeah, it's good because it's just like this 80 years of history, like this amazing man, Tolkien, and all of what he's done." And, that's the problem. And I don't think they realize the disconnect there. Now, then again, this is speculation, guys. For all we know, they switched gears and they're all of a sudden exactly in line with Tolkien. Who knows, right? We don't know until we actually see something legit and out in public. And my expectation is the first thing we see out in public will be a very well-crafted defensive message. It's not going to be apparently defensive, by the way. It's going to be just talking about the authenticity of Tolkien and
I guarantee you Chris is 100% right. And I remember The Force Awakens, the first trailer they had. Do you remember that? The first trailer they had just showed a bunch of sets to prove no more green screen. This is not George Lucas's Star Wars. This is real, right? Yep. So I guarantee you, it's different, but the same, right? The first trailer or teaser trailer or whatever they want to show is going to be, we are really Tolkien. This is really happening, 100%.
They're going to license an interview from the BBC with the professor, with him saying some line that fits the narrative of what they're going to want to accomplish. It's going to be it's gonna be very much like when we didn't know what was gonna happen with the films. When I was at the Cannes Film Festival and you go to see the first 45 minutes and you're like, oh, they're not lying. That internet trailer where they gave that message to the fans, like, hey, we're keeping it, this could never be filmed before, and now it can be because the technology exists. And like, we're all doubtful and everyone's like, yeah, whatever, there's this crazy freaking horror director guy making Bad Taste, another silly movie. How's he gonna make this? And then you get that first trailer and everyone's like, oh, wait a second, this is, he's right in line with the message. And then you get to see this canned footage, and then the influencers at the time, right? That's what they would have been called back then. Then freaking preach the gospel of what they saw. And now if Amazon's listening, they should do something similar. But at the same time, let's try to be, appropriate for the source material. That's all we're asking. Just
look. If you go back to our YouTube article, if you go back to our YouTube, when quarantine started, we were able to get Gordon Pattison, Mark Ordesky, and everybody to celebrate the 20th anniversary of that little teaser trailer. That was not a real trailer. It was for the fans, and that's the video that Chris is talking about right now. So Amazon, if you're watching, that's just repeat what New Line did, both on the video form and maybe engage with fans. And I just also want to reiterate to Amazon, your takedown notice to Fellowship of Fans will not deter, and will not scare, and will not stop the leaks.
Right. Those people are going to... Are you kidding me? In fact, it's going to encourage it now.
Michael Regina can confirm that the links don't stop no matter how many threats you get.
No, and you get stuff from passionate fans who will tell you exactly what you're looking at, to people who are like, I think this is Lord of the Rings. Here, I'm sending it to you. So you get it all. People who are not even interested are going to be like, I saw a movie being made in Auckland, and it must be Lord of the Rings. I'm sending it to you. So. Think
of this though, Mike. Think of this. So back then, when Lord of the Rings was being filmed, it wasn't the country of New Zealand did not identify as Lord of the Rings.
No, not even then. No, definitely not.
Now, you have a country that literally, in its history, it'll be written in history books for all of eternity about New Zealand and generations of cast members and extras and whatever, and everybody's focused on it, right? And yet you're filming it here. I guarantee there'll be leaks, so many leaks, it's not even funny. All over the place.
That's true. It's going to happen. So since it's going to happen, and you've already hired a PR team working at Trailer Park, from the rumors we're hearing. Trailer Park. So since you've already got people working, then you might as well start to try to what is it called? Handle the flow of information. You might as well try to manage it now. You're not going to stop it. You can't put your finger in the wall and not expect another hole in the dike to burst. Watch out, Amsterdam. The little Dutch boy can only do so much. He's only got 10 fingers.
Julie
leaks
James
are still going to come.
Julie James in the chat room runs red carpet tours in New Zealand, and she agrees with everything Chris said. The identity of New Zealand is wrapped up in Lord of the Rings. Jill Miller just joined the chat room, says, great to see you, Michael. And as we wrap up this conversation, again, you are looking at the very first photos from Amazon's $1 billion Lord of the Rings. This is the big scoop. Fellowship of Fans on YouTube posted these, and Amazon set the fastest cease and desist. They put a copyright strike on the channel, and it's off the internet. And in fact, it's on Reddit now, everything. So these are the photos Amazon doesn't want you to see. The fact that you're watching this live stream might be the only time you see these photos, because we might get a copyright strike on our Facebook and YouTube channel now because we're showing you these videos. But based on what Jimmy Wills, the founder of Wikipedia, and Cory Doctorow told me, We have been talking about these photos and videos in a news format this entire show. So this is informed discussion about this, and we are fully under the copyright law in all 200 countries worldwide. I would not try it. Let's be friendly.
Let's be friends. Let's all be friends here. Why don't we all sit down and break bread together and talk on the live show on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and we'll all have a conversation together. And a very special call out to Simone in the YouTube chat, who said, the leaks arrive precisely when they mean to.
Perfect.
All right, as we wrap up, let's go one by one. I want to get your thoughts. Let's bring those photos back up. Let's get everyone's guess on what this 4-story Ice Mountain set is. I will go first, and then we'll go to Michael, and then Chris, and then Cliff. You can finish up. My guess is we are looking at a 4-story ice climbing set of the top of Moria, the mountain above Moria, where the dwarves dig too deep and they build Dwerodelf, the best and biggest kingdom that we actually see in Fellowship of the Ring. And one of the reasons I think that this is part of the side of the mountain is because it's a familiar location to movie fans, and we're all familiar with the Pass of Caradhras and the Snowy Mountains and the Saruman stuff.
It's pronounced Carathras.
Carathras. Whatever.
There you go.
My prediction is it is the icy mountain above Moria. Let's go to Michael.
I like that too. I'm going with that one for my pick. I feel like I'm doing March Madness. I'm going with that one for my pick. I wouldn't also consider potentially this could be from a new How the Grinch Stole Christmas movie that might be filming, but I could be wrong.
I want to piggyback on that because for all we know, this is the latest Jim Carrey movie. Wasn't he? No, it was Mike Myers who was the Grinch.
No, it was Jim Carrey. Come on. Mike Myers was the cat.
It was Jim Carrey.
Was he?
Mike Myers
was the cat in the hat, dude.
Yeah.
The cat in the hat. Hey, Chad in the chat room just says, "Hey, by the way, I'm an engineer. That's a 60-foot boom crane, and that basket is about 32 feet high."
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm actually not going to jump. Realistically, I think it might be like I mentioned a long time ago, season 2's musical sequence where they bring in Father Christmas letters from Tolkien and do some fun. It's for the musical episode. And then I'm going to disagree with what Cliff says, because Cliff, for 20 plus years and longer, has always been accurate and dead on. And I just
never. Oh gosh, no. All right, here's my late guess, and this is legitimately a guess. It is a modular set. It is going to be broken down into pieces, and it will be used in a tall structure right now, and then in another couple of weeks they'll take pieces apart, and it will be horizontally done with a different shape, and they'll run the cameras around. I mean, I've seen them recently do this with the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, and we saw them do it with the Hobbit trilogy. They're taking pieces and moving them around as much as they need. If it is a location in Middle-earth, it might be the top or the side of Menotarma, the mountain in the center of Numenor. Or maybe it is a flashback to the Helcaraxe, where the flight of the Noldor happened, because maybe they're going to just visually explain, and then they'll reuse the set over and over again for 2 or 3 different things. So my money is it's going to be reused over and over again, not just for one thing. And if it is the side of Zirak Zagil, which is the dwarven name for Carathras, then I guess time will tell. But I've got a feeling that it's a Numenorian location. That's just me.
Look, and look, if
shows up in the first trailer, just so you know.
Yeah, we'll see if it shows up in the first trailer. Look, if the leaks are from different movies, look, this is part of being the fun. This is the fun part, right? And we are looking at a series of photos and a zoomed-in video, which is more than we ever got last time. We were morsels of like single photos last time. You know, Michael would get a Spymaster photo, and it's one photo. And we dive deep into that for like 2 months.
I just want to say real quick, I enjoyed when Erica was going up, like she would be sending us like just landscape photos. Remember those?
She would send beautiful photos that were like they're filming near here, and then people would zoom in on them and see little details and make guesses as to what they could be.
Photos. It was like, oh my god, look how beautiful that looks, just like the Shire.
Yeah. Oh yeah, beautiful.
Well, Erica, if you're watching, and if you're still in New Zealand, which I think you are,
we can.
You still own the OneRing.
Yeah, exactly. She's still co-owner of the OneRing. What time? Hey Siri, what time is it in New Zealand?
It's always
New Zealand. It's 2:34 p.m.
She could easily join us for this.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, totally. We'll get her on the next leak of photos. So hey, I want to thank you guys for jumping on. It's great to have two of the co-founders of the OneRing to give us context on what it means to leak a photo and what the next steps are and what the changing face of fandom and how we deal with these leaks before and how we're going to deal with them in the future. Cliff always bringing the expert analysis with book in hand of what it could be, and the chat room. Go ahead.
And I love getting fact checked in instant time, automatically with the live chatters and with me flipping pages in my hands. It's an excellent combination of getting the facts as quickly as we can get the facts. I do love that, and I really love the reciprocation we're getting with our fandom. And I love that everybody loves the cat meowing in the background. That's fun too.
And as we wrap up, a big thank you to the Fellowship of Fans, who is on the front line of our Amazon.
Yes.
Our Amazon front line. Thank you for taking the copyright strike. Thank you for posting these videos. And if you're watching, please subscribe to Fellowship of Fans, because they might get more photos, they might put them up, and they might be deleted. So you want to have those notifications turned on for their YouTube channel. I've seen a bunch of our regulars admitted to subscribing to Fellowship of Fans today. And, and this goes to, whether you're watching from Reddit or anybody else, it's like, this isn't about the OneRing wanting to own the conversation. And we're not the only game in town. And it's all about uplifting all the fandom.
Amen. Preach it.
So
Absolutely.
Exactly. It's about uplifting the fandom, and it's about expanding the voices and adding more voices to the conversation.
So
really.
Fellowship of Fans, keep up the good work. Thank you for taking the hit for us. And if
also everybody's asking about the 4K release, and we're going to be doing a taping, a special conversation with Bill Hunt from the Digital Bits. We're going to get confirmations from Peter Jackson's office and Michael Pellerin, who did the behind-the-scenes appendices on the Blu-rays. We're going to get more information to you guys in the next few days. Promise. Keep your eyes on the prize.
Now that we can stream in 4K, maybe we can get some of that beautiful 4K footage and debut that exclusively. Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, you're gonna have to buy me a new laptop to get me to broadcast in 4K. Somebody get me a new MacBook.
Yeah. If we had a Patreon, I'm sure people would support, but we're not for profit, and we appreciate all your support and all the fans that have kept us going throughout the years.
You guys.
And again, Fellowship of Fans, thank you, everyone. If you've got scoops, you can always email us, spymaster@theonering.net. You can slide into our DMs on Instagram, Twitter, everything. Like, just slide in and like, hey, I was walking my dog, and I saw some guys that look like orcs, having coffee. Hey, just send it to us. Like, everyone's anonymous until they're not. So we've been doing this for 20 years. We're still doing it today. And this has been a wonderful conversation of going. And I feel like we learned a lot. I learned a lot. And keep the scoops going. Thank you, Chris Saint, for producing our first 4K stream. This has been amazing. This is Torn Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. And we thank you for watching. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Until next time, buenas noches y buena suerte.